Welcome back to the Mr. McNugget Show. I'm Mr. McNugget. So I want to preface this episode by saying that yes, I am going to talk about guns. And that's a touchy subject, I realize this, but I'm not going to be telling you my thought on gun rights, gun control, any of the gun issues in our country overtly. I'm not going to tell you my beliefs. I'm not going to tell you how I feel about other people's beliefs. That's not my goal of this video today. It is an instance that happened again on the internet that frustrated me for sure, because I feel like it's irresponsible. And it has to do with guns directly, but it always ends up in this political baloney that really doesn't solve anything. If you have your mind made up on something, usually your mind's made up. All the facts in the world can't help people in some cases. They've made their minds up. In this case, however, though, I feel like there's some middle ground, a lot of middle ground. And it seems like it should be falling under that realm of common sense that doesn't exist, because what seems to be common sense for one group of people is not common sense for another, right, wrong, or indifferent. The term common sense is kind of baloney in and of itself too. So what is this issue that I am taking issue with? Issue enough that I want to make an episode about it of the show. Well, I was in a group on Facebook, or actually I was just scrolling through my Facebook the other night, and I saw a picture come up in one of the groups that I follow on Facebook. It's a retro video gaming group, because that's one of my big interests in life is video games, but retro inspired things and retro games in particular. This was a photograph of a Glock 9mm handgun. You're thinking, well, why would that be in a retro gaming Facebook group? Well, because they had a Glock 9mm handheld that happened to be painted like the Nintendo Zapper. Remember the Nintendo Zapper? It was the little light gun that came with the action set of the NES. You could get it separately for a while, I believe. And it was used mainly in Duck Hunt, but also like Hogan's Alley was another game you could use it in, and Wild Gunman. Light gun games, they're fun. I saw the picture and I was less than thrilled by what I saw. So I made the mistake of replying to the photograph. And when I replied to the photograph, I feel like I was pretty reasonable in what I said. I simply stated, I'm totally fine with toy guns. However, I'm not fine with guns made to look like toys. And I think that's a valid point. Because when you look at the Glock 9mm handheld gaming again, the handgun, it looks just like the Nintendo Zapper, which is cool, because the Nintendo Zapper is cool. I have my Nintendo Zapper right here. I happen to have the orange one because even Nintendo caved to pressure that the gray Zapper, or the darker gray with the lighter gray of the original Zapper, like the Glock that I just showed you, was too much like a real gun. So the next ones came out with the action set, which is what I got, and they colored it orange, which you see toy guns have an orange tip on them to cue to law enforcement or whomever that this is in fact a toy. It's not actually a firearm. Sounds silly. I mean, obviously it looks like a toy. It still makes that satisfying sound that the Zapper always made. It's a toy. This is a toy. A real firearm's not, whether you like them or not. It's a tool, and what you use that tool for is read between the lines. Are they useful? Sure. Not getting into what my feelings on that at all, but it's not a toy. So I question why it needs to be made to look like one. Let's continue with this though, because I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the replies that I received from posting my disagreement with a Glock painted like a Nintendo Zapper. This is a Nerf gun. These are cool too. My son loves this thing. It's got one dart left in it. All right, here it goes. This is the big one right here. They're fun. I really like these things. What about this Nerf gun? Kind of hard to tell the difference, isn't it? That's not a toy. What are my issues with this? Oh gosh, I could just go on and on. Remember Hello Kitty? Oh man, Hello Kitty. the cutest little thing ever. Apparently not really even a cat. How? Why? I don't know. I don't know enough about this stuff. My daughter loved Hello Kitty. Not as big a fan of that anymore. Apparently now she likes these boy bands from Korea, I guess. BTS. Look them up. But she loved Hello Kitty when she was younger. What about this Hello Kitty? Wow. Yeah. Okay, so the replies that I got for my post. Well, you should teach your kids not to touch things that don't belong to them. That was one reply that I got. And then the other reply was all too typical as well, unfortunately. Well, if you lock your guns up in a gun case, this won't be a problem. Let's address the first one. If you teach your kids not to touch your stuff, this won't be a problem. Well, maybe this fella was a parent and just has kids that are not inquisitive or curious at all and are not naturally drawn to things that look like toys that they're used to being able to handle and play with whenever they should choose. That's fortunate for him. Or he is just the absolute most authoritarian parent there is, and his children are scared to touch anything that belongs to him. Or perhaps his children just have really great boundaries because he is authoritative enough. But I wouldn't want to risk that because that's not a toy. It just looks like one. Now let's go to the gun cabinet argument. The gun cabinet argument is obviously, at least they're locking them away. That's great. That's the way that a firearm in the house probably should be. Well, let's, though, talk about the implications of even it being locked away. Your child sees inside the gun cabinet because, a lot of them have glass, fronts on them. And says, oh, cool, look at that Nerf gun inside the cabinet. And then you have to explain to your child, oh, no, that's an actual gun, but it's just made to look like a Nerf gun. So now you taught your child that this is my toy, that's your toy. And when I grow up, that could be my toy too. Instead of teaching your child the importance of handling a gun safely and what a gun is capable of, what to expect from a firearm, when and if you should touch a firearm. It's hard to do that when you have devalued a firearm by making it look like something that they could go to Walmart and buy little foam darts for and have fun with their friends. You want to talk about guns being important and guns being something that should be respected. But when you make them look like this, I don't feel like they're deserving of a whole lot of respect because while I may appreciate the fact that I have a toy as a child, I leave it in the mud outside, I step on it, I lose the darts, I leave it out for other people to handle, people to carry with them, people to enjoy because it's a toy, that's what it's for. But you don't want that same sort of laissez-faire attitude being applied to an actual firearm. There's other ways, deeper issues that you could go into with this topic. I mean, for Pete's sake, there's guns now that are painted to match people's fashion sense. Pink guns, purple guns, pink and purple camo guns. Sure, you can absolutely do that. That's well within your rights. But sometimes, again, you have to ask yourself, why are you doing it and should you? Because if it's really there to defend you or be there for you to use in the case of self-defense, does it matter if it matches your shirt or your shoes? I'll go so far as to say, no, that doesn't matter at all. But it's what people do. As always, I'd love to know your thoughts on this big topic. I know it's something that can always borderline into the disagreements. I don't want this to be a discussion agreeing or disagreeing with firearms or whether or not people should own them and how people should own them and how far you should go with your ownership of firearms and which firearms are the right firearms to own. It's not about that. Let's talk more about this specific issue. Should guns be painted to look like toys? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for stopping by. I always appreciate people coming by. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. Click the little bell so you'll know when the next one goes up as well. And until next time, have a good one.